Okay, great. Thanks again for joining us for session. So today we will be looking at the 5 easy steps to bridge employee skill gaps, and we will be basically talking about the ways we can actually be able to achieve those. My name is George Ominde. I'm a corporate training expert. I've been working with mElimu for the last 10 years. And I'm joined by Pramil Varma, who will also be taking us through the discussion. So thanks again for joining, and we are pleased to have this session together. Maybe Pramil, you want to say something as we go on?
Yes, George. Thanks all of you for joining this webinar. Seeing most of the people again here. Really appreciate all of you for joining this session. Very good morning, all of you from different part of the countries. Seeing some around more than 140 people have joined us from different parts of the world. From India, from Kenya, from Ethiopia, from Egypt, from other Middle East countries, from West African countries. So there are a lot of people from even some of the people joining from Philippines and Indonesia and Singapore, from India. That's a great seeing all of you from different parts of the world, all of you. I know people might be having some questions in between. And I would request to put all your questions in the Q&A so that we can address all those questions while we would be going through the presentation today. And George will be taking us the different scenarios, and we will be discussing the industry's experiences and other use cases. We have invited one of our other speaker, David. So we will be discussing some other his experience in the corporate sectors. Yes, George, over to you now, please.
Thank you very much. So first, we all know that we have different people within the space right now. We have managers, we have different industry experts, and we have supervisors and organizational heads. So one of the first questions that we always ask ourselves is that what are the challenges of bridging the employee skill gaps? So with that kind of question, when you're seeking to answer that question, you have to look at it in totality. So you will be having a range of issues, but some of the issues that will actually be coming up every time you ask that question will include what we are seeing on our screen right now. So maybe if I was to start from the right to the left, you will first see that you have most of the people will say that one of the challenges is that they have non-qualified kind of skill set where people are not qualified. They are in the positions, but they are not qualified for those positions. And then the second challenge is that you'll find that there are shortages in the workforce, especially right now with the evolving needs in the different sectors, in evolving roles and the evolving requirements. You'll find that you have shortages in certain skills that you actually require to be able to perform optimally to achieve your goals. Then the other challenge that you will also find is that you have an overload on the workforce, because the people who will actually be able to do the jobs will actually be overloaded. And we've seen even this with regards to certain sectors. So if you have certain skills, especially in, let's say, in the IT sector, then you would find that those kind of people who have the special skills will always have to be a little bit overloaded in terms of the responsibilities that they're actually given. And when you have that, obviously you have a performance shortfall because the people, the hands that you'll have or the resources that you'll have will not be matching the needs of the organization. So it means you will be having low performance, which will actually be able to lead to our next challenge, which is low productivity. When you have low productivity, you know that you will not be producing what you have, and it will include you going down. That will mean that you decrease your growth. That means that the revenue will actually be able to go down within the organization. So these are some of the challenges that we will always have in any organization with regards to the skill gap. So it means that even as we look at the challenges, we also need to now know how we can actually be able to work around the shortfalls and be able to make gains into the organizations. So we will now move on so that we are able to see how we can actually be able to uh, mitigate this by identifying the reasons why we have these gaps. And then we'll also be able to look at how we will be able to bridge these gaps. And then we'll be able to see the different steps that we'll be able to do. So we
So,
have outlined, yeah, go ahead.
sorry to interrupt you. I think one important point I would like to add that I have been running the organizations, and it is really becoming a challenge actually, bridging the employee skill gap sometimes. And the main factor is here to identify what actually the challenges are. Right. I think uh, first of all, obviously, I would like to address 5 points here. Um, the few major challenges actually in that. First of all, what I have seen, what I have done while running the organization is actually first of all to identify the skill gaps, and that is very important to identify first of all that what all these skills are needed in the organizations, and then understanding what is actually the future needs, and then on the basis of what skills we have in on demand uh, and what manpower we have. So the second factor is very correlated when you are trying to um, making your employees getting agreed on for any kind of training. So obviously, once you have identified the skills first, then you need to get employees onboarding to different kind of trainings, what skills that you have identified, and then setting up the goals while enrolling them to different kind of training programs, because it is very important that the employees and the staff should go with the right training, and those trainings should be designed in a very correct way, right? So this could be the third major reason that should be have a right training to be given to the employees that is very relevant and associated with their job roles. And I think the most important, the last point is that how to measure these effectiveness of the training. So it is important as well that we can see the before the training how employee staff were, and after the training how staff are doing right now. So there's these measuring tool will give the effectiveness of these kind of training when being conducted actually. Yes, George.
Thank you. So let's move to the next slide. So in the second type that we have, just move it forward. Yeah. So in the second step that we have is that you have to identify uh, what is a skill gap amongst the employees, and we have different reasons as to why these skill gaps are. We could see we have outlined five of them. So you'd find that again with the evolving job market, we are able to see that people from different education backgrounds are actually getting opportunities in different fields. So it means that they have to plug in and have that kind of uh, experience or skill set to be able to achieve what they would want in that particular uh, position. Then the other one is that you see that you also have a limited industry experience, especially in the news sector, or it could be just because of the scale gaps. And then the third is that the overall organizational experience. So you could find the employees not having the kind of experience that is needed. Because I remember that even in different markets, sometimes when different opportunities are announced, there is always that kind of experience that is a key factor in certain roles. So sometimes they say you need to have an experience of 10 years. Sometimes they say they need an experience of 5 years, 5 years. And there is a reason for that, because once you have that kind of experience, you are able to do certain tasks with ease without minimal supervision. And then you'll also be able to see that there is the frequent changes. So every day we have transformations, we have advancements in technology, we have advancements everywhere terms of what we need to utilize, the tools we need to utilize to be able to be successful. So with this kind of transformations, we need to update our skill set. And that is the reason why once we identify them, we actually need to plug the gap so that we are able to cope and perform our roles effectively. Then the last one is lack of exposure, which is always self-explanatory. So, Praveen, I want to ask you a question. How successful can an organization be in bridging this kind of skill set gap?
So, George, see, running an organization, making this skill gap a successful, obviously, there are few, I would say, factors that makes your skill gap bridging it can only be on, I will count 3 4 such factors that make it successful. I think it's first the commitment from the organization. That is most important thing, that the organization should be committed that that there's any kind of skill gap, then I need to bridge it. So as an organization perspective, it needs to be thought of it that, okay, we are ready, that we have different kind of skill set, that's the resources, manpowers who are working, they might be having different skills, they are not upgraded. So that kind of commitment needed from the organization to fulfill that bridge, those gaps, actually using different kind of bridges. Second factor I feel making it successful is the engagement of the employees, actually. That how we are making the employees engage in the whole process when we are doing it, in bridging the skill gaps. Then only we can make the complete process successful if the employees are not getting engaged. So we need to provide that kind of training so that employees grow, and then only organization can grow. So that's how the training will give a value to the employees and for the organization. Third factors I feel is the quality of training that you are providing to the staff, actually. and those makes your training and the skill training that you're providing, making it successful. So it is very important that your training should be very engaging and effective for them. And I think the 5 point is that self-evaluation and monitoring. At least those staff and employees, when they are engaged with any kind of training, they should see where they are. So what I have been seeing that nowadays gamifications are very much being utilized in a different tools, and that actually motivating the employees when they are joining the training, but it also gives them where they stand. So these gamification I have seen like being used as a where some kind of awards and recognition they are getting if they are completing, uh, right, they are comparing themselves in the leaderboard where they stand with respect to other employees. So this competitive thought making actually giving the users or those staff where they lie. So this all is, I think, the pointers or the factors that making this successful in bridging the gaps. George.
Thank you. We appreciate uh, your contribution. So in addition, or just as a rejoinder, we could also see from our screens what 3 ways we can actually be able to, the 3 steps we could use to bridge this gap. So as we onboard the employees, obviously we'll have the different qualifications, what we'll be looking at, so that the candidate suits the bill. And then as we put them now, so that they are able to start the role, we'll be able to identify, we first of all will need to assess the employees. And then after assessing what they have and their gaps, there could be gaps here and there. Then the next thing you need to do is that you'll be able to identify their learning needs. So what kind of trainings should they be enrolled into, or should they be put into? What lines do we want to engage them into? Then after that, we'll be able to have them learn adaptively. So if you have a solution or if you have a training program, especially with the HR departments, you can actually be able to align them so they can continuously learn even as they go forward with their role. So in step 4, the fourth step that you could take towards uh, uh, doing this is that we can actually be able to use technologies or use the HR, the training departments to be able to set learning paths. You could set up a training induction, or you could set up a program that will actually be able to allow the users to be able to get trained. So with that, what you need to do is that you need to identify the different courses or different programs that would help in the growth of the employee. This would help them in bridging their different skill set gaps so that they have all the tools to be able to uh, move forward. Then secondly, you'll also need to set up the learning paths for different users or different employees. This one would
George, we lost you.
sorry about that. I think there was some technical hitch, but so you need to the team, that is the human resource department, with the training, let's say the training managers need to set up the different learning paths for different individuals within the workforce so that they are able to be trained appropriately in the lines of duty so that they're able to acquire the different skill sets that they would need. And in doing so, what they would do is once the learning paths have been set, they will be enrolled in different competency skill-based programs so that they are given the final push in terms of support. Because once you have identified the shortfalls and you've known that, okay, this is what needs to be done. So you do that so that now you put them on a pedestal to be able to achieve whatever they need to do. So let's move forward. And I have another question for Mr. Pramil. So Pramil, what benefits have you seen or have you experienced while using different tools like learning management systems in fulfilling the organizational gaps?
Good question, George. I think it's not that trainings were not happening before the LMS. Uh, the trainings were happening before the LMS, right? Obviously, when I compare the training that was happening previously and nowadays, we are very seriously using the e-learning systems, the training portals. There are huge differences that I have seen actually. I think the bigger thing what I have seen is the scalability. Uh, no matter the size of the companies, what you are, you might have 20 people, or you might have 200 people, or you might have 20,000 or 2 million users. You can conduct all the trainings at one go, rather than you are scheduling and asking them to come and because we are having different centers, and we have different centers, we have different branches, and there are a lot of trainings going on, and there are each organizations, each branches, we are having their own countries, laws, rules and policies, and really it was becoming a tough trainers going there and then scheduling it, different kind of training. So it was becoming a big challenge. I think scalability, where all the employees can be onboarded in one tool, and then the training are happening very quickly. Second, what I see is it's a very flexible tool. Like the tools makes us very flexible in terms of like you can customize the way you wanted your courses as per the organization need. It means can be design our courses with respectively activities easily within these tools, rather than we are strict with the respective scenarios. So what I've seen is that kind of flexibility happening within the system. Obviously, third, I would say it's very cost effective actually. Previously, when we were conducting the trainings, there were a lot of to and fro was happening. People were being asked to come to the head offices, and they were being given specific time. They were giving lodges and per diem and everything to attend those training. Right now, those are actually allowing a lot of time wastages, as well as a lot of money was getting spent for conducting such kind of training. So we were thinking of in a year happening this kind of training once in a year. Now, due to this cost, this kind of training now being moved to the digitally, I think using such tools is actually making us very cost effective, because now we can conduct several trainings every month. We are doing the training, right? And we are doing it continuously. Another, I would say the next could be what I have seen is very efficiency or efficiently being used, because uh, LMS is helping here to like in streamlining the complete training process, right? And that makes it more efficient. So that is where it is helping. Obviously, it is also a tool that helps, as I said in the previous of your question, that it gives us kind of statistical data that is helping here to the not only to the employees but also to the employers, that what actually he was previously and what he has been after the training, so where he stands. So these kind of user progress behavior tracking, when it is started capturing those kind of information, it gives a different I would say benefit to the organization, right? Because when we are talking about any appraisals, salary appraisals of the employees, we actually just seeing what their supervisors are giving the performance rating. Now this tool is helping us to understand where he stand, because now he has been assessed on different kind of skills. He has been part of different kind of role based activities that he is doing, and on those basis we are conducting certain assessment, and we are now able to see where he stand actually, because some of the behavioral, some of the our assessment when we are conducting, those are more related what as per their daily activities, what they are doing it. So these informations are these factors are actually making the helpful to organizations, and it is helping us, and that's why I would say that LMS is helping obviously in a very different way right now. Yes, George.
Thank you very much for that elaborate response to my question. So for those who are joining now, we are looking at the five ways in which you can actually be able to bridge employee gaps, and we've looked at the different steps. For example, the first step was that you need to identify the employee skill gaps. And then after that, you need to identify the reasons for the skill gaps amongst the employees or the team members. And then the third was actually to be able to do the action, that is to bridge the gap. Uh, and then fourth, we were setting up the learning paths and providing the different trainings to the workforce that we're able to mitigate the challenges. And then fifth, Pramila has given us his experience with using different tools to be able to fulfill such uh, gaps. So I want to ask another question, a follow-up question to that, Pramila. So what advice would you give to different organizations and HR managers or even industry experts looking forward to bridging gaps in the organizations? Pramila?
I think, George, what it's been more than 25 years running the organization, and I've been running the organization, several other organizations I've been running as well, and I've been part of it. Um, I think bridging the skill gaps, obviously, I think first of all, as an organization, it is should be a commitment from the organization that should have for the continuous learning and training plan. They should think of it. So that kind of commitment for continuous learning. Uh, so whenever they plan it for uh, further years, they should plan it that, okay, this year, what kind of commitment I am setting up for my staff for continuous learning. And then it requires what different skills you are planning to train to those your staff and people. Second, what I feel that uh, we should always give an opportunities to the employees to learn and grow. I think some of the people, some of the organization have been seen that these kind of opportunities not been given in that way. So Uh, for an example, it's not required that the training courses will be coming free to everyone, or maybe possibility the employees or staff are requesting or for any kind of paid training, or there are paid trainers coming to this system, or you have paid courses, should be given, so that these opportunities should be given to the employees so that they can grow, because it is important. Unless and until the employees and staff grows, it is really tough to grow the organization. Third, I think it is very important that trainings that we are planning, it should be very relevant to the employee needs. It should not be that we have created just the training plan, training we have created, and there is no interest of the employees. So we need to make sure, we need to ensure that the employees are engaged. So it should be very relevant, specific for their employee needs. And I think final is obviously it is important, whenever you are planning or conducting such kind of trainings using the tools, obviously LMS, those effectiveness is important. I have seen most of the organizations, they conducted the training and they are not comparing the their employees, what were their day before and how they have been bridged after these kind of training, what skill gap has been bridged. So those effectiveness are important. So obviously there are several ways it can be, assessment can be happened, or they have been given a new job role and then further. So these are important, George. What I felt that the organization should think of it, while when they are looking to bridge the employee skill gaps using any kind of tools. Yes, George.
Thank you very much for that uh, explanation or that advice that you would give to the different players who are actually grappling with fulfilling the employee gaps that we have seen so far. So we could use technologies to be able to do that as well. So some of the benefits or some of the things that you would enjoy from using technology to employ the mechanisms to be able to reduce the skill gaps include what you are seeing on your screen. So these are on top of what Mr. Pramila has actually explained. So if you look at them, you can actually be able to see that with a learning management system, you're able to have all this. And this is also tied to the question that I had asked earlier, where he explained how gamification can actually also be incorporated into skill-based learning. So we have 8 points here. For example, you'll be able to reduce your costs. It has been well explained. It's also part and parcel of that. The employees or the workforce will have personalized trainings that are geared towards making them better, especially in their roles. Even though sometimes once they have been trained, they always want to move to a different role. So you continuously train them so that you have people who can actually be able to fill in those roles as and when they move to different roles within the organization. Then, of course, you'll be able to identify special areas that need attention using the analytics that you'll be analyzing within the technology. And then, of course, you'll be able to access the areas of interest. So when you check on what is happening within the system, how they interact with the content, the kind of questions that they're asking, the AI element will actually be able to identify what they love, and you could actually be able to use that information for the benefit of the organization by moving them or leaning towards those kind of courses. Then, of course, the collaborations will be key. People will actually be engaging more. They will be asking more questions. They will be doing team activities so that they will be able to improve. Then, of course, as they train, you'll be thinking of ways to reward employees. So if somebody does a course, you can actually be able to provide a certain recognition. So in the workforce, you could give different prizes, rewards for achieving those. You could give certificates of participations. You could give certain monetary rewards as well, so that they get encouraged. Or you could even use that to be able to uh, give promotions, so that you encourage the learning culture within the organization. So I want to stop it there, so that you can also be able to ask questions. So Pramil is here. He will be able to answer all our questions.
I think
So I want to,
there's a question came is talking about the slide, step 3 slide. Um, I think few of the people might have missed because your your voice was breaking maybe. Um, Webinar team, can you take it to the slide 3 quickly? Step 3, I think. Step 3. Yeah, I think what George was talking about is when you're bridging the skill gaps, obviously it is very important that you start with assessing the employees. You don't know your employees what the skill gaps are there. So it is very important that as soon the users or the people, I know that there are a lot of hiring whenever it has been happened. There is a recruitment process being followed up. But once they are being onboarded for actual job role, it is important that you should run some assessment very specific to those job role. Once you run those assessment with the specific job roles, obviously you would be able to identify whether you wanted, whether that resource or the person needed to work in a group or can perform individually. That is most important thing. I have seen this working very well, because if that actually helps here and helps to the those staff and employees who recently joined, because it's been seen that they might have not the past experience of very relevant job profile or job role or that specific industry. So sometimes they need to work in a group so that they can learn and work. But that is true as well, that some of the people have joined and they are actually very smart. They have already done a lot of homeworks already, so they can be put individually for that specific job. So that assessment helps here actually. And when you have assessing these employees, then you would be able to identify what are the gaps actually, what are the needs of those learning actually. And once you identify the different learning needs, then you move those people to different learning courses that you are designing for them or you have designed for them. And adaptive learning concept is here. Obviously, it is where that user who started with, he can go as and when he's completing further. So maybe there are people who are having different mindset or with different brain. If I'm smart enough, I could be finishing my whole training. Maybe if it's of 40 hours, I could be finishing in just 2 days. So the kind of the way I'm going it, the relevant data, relevant informations or relevant trainings and resources are coming to me when I'm going in that way. So this is what actually Josh talked about. Um, we are happy to answer your other questions if you have. And I think people are asking whether you will be getting the slides. I think after this session, you all will be getting the slides. You all will be getting the recorded session. The people who joined this webinar, they will be receiving the uh, I would say the webinar uh, Q&A So all these will be provided, as well as the participation certificate will be provided to everyone as well.
So probably there is a question on chat. Somebody is asking, what percentage can be used when increasing staff salary? And secondly, you can combine it with this. What tools can one use to assess employees and identify their learning needs?
The first question you said, what is the percent to be used when increasing staff salary?
Yeah, yes, that is the question.
I think it doesn't matter the percentage the staff salary is increasing or not. I don't want to correlate these, because staff salaries are getting increased on the basis of their skill. So the more they are making themselves advance, you are increasing their staff salary. I would like to connect in a different way, that when you are assessing your employees and you are finding that they have been awarded and recognized, and you are seeing that their performance are actually great, so you have a proof that is captured within the tool, that how much that salary should be appraised with respect to other people. Because now you can see all the 200 employees, and they can also see where he is being within the whole organization, where he stands. So you have a data now that is getting captured within the LMS tool, and that's how you are doing the appraisals. But users are, or your staff are, salaries are increasing, obviously that's good, but those trainings are required them as well, because as soon they get the salary higher, they may move to the another organization, right? Or to make them keep going on with the new job role. It is important, because as you have increased the salary, as an organization, your expectation is not very different. Your expectation is something, but that person, whether that person is having that skill set or not, that is important for you. So that is important, that you should again have the assessment happening to make sure that the new role and responsibility you are giving, whether he is qualified or not, otherwise he should be going within those training as well. I hope
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So we have two members raising their hands. So we'll allow them to ask their questions or make their comments. So I'll start with Professor Washington, okay, and then we'll go to Albert. So Professor, welcome on board.
Thank you very much, George, and thank you very much, Pramil, for the presentation. Very informative indeed and timely. My comment and question is that in a lot of instances, despite the thorough assessment of skill gaps of employees in various areas, and of course, when this is done, it is mostly it is the staff themselves who say, I need training in this, I'm lacking skill in this and that, so that the proper training is designed. But despite that being done and proper training being done, sometimes you find some staff still underperform even after the training. And this is a huge challenge to the effort that is put in the assessment and also in training itself. I wonder what comments you people have to try and address this, whether it is the assessment process that was not done properly, whether it is the training which is not done properly, whether there's a problem with the employee, him or herself. How do you deal with those kind of situations? Thank you.
Thanks for this question, Professor Washington. That's a very good question. I think when he has been hired to the organization, so it means he is a capable guy, because he has been hired, he has been taken with a proper interview, and that's why he has been hired. So I'm taking in a positive way that, okay, this guy who has been hired, he's a capable of, that's why he got the job. Obviously, what happened when we are giving the training, we stick with very specific pointers rather than defining the complete competencies, different skills. And nowadays, LMS has been designing in a very different way that, okay, you are trying to make a person sales manager. So when you are trying to make a sales manager with those skills, it is very important that what different areas that you are looking to improve within it, and to different areas that you wanted to improve. Obviously, you have created respective courses where, for an example, you have created a course related to the email etiquettes. Then you have created personality development. Then you have created a com skills. And now you are conducting, obviously, the courses. So it is very important to identify that which area he's actually seeking any kind of help, because it may possible that he is very good in comm skills and these areas, because um, and you are missing that he actually not. So the more we can bifurcated those skills with small sub skills, then only you will be able to identify where he is actually lacking. And as soon you find it, the gap of that actually is not very much convenient in talking to the customers, or not very much convenient in writing the emails to the customer, you might have, or you should have, a specific training programs on that basis, so that he should automatically enroll with those kind of programs, because still there is a gap, I would say. But as we have created just a sales manager course and there is a set of content there, it do not going to help. So you need to get your course designed in sub skills, and then again you identify your employees where actually he's lacking, and then respective skill where he's lacking, he should be going with more those sub skill courses in that way. So your course should be structured in that way, and that's how we have done in our organization. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, Pramil, you answered my question, and thank you very much. I just wanted to also extend a little bit and ask your view about, the assessment method. And there could be any number of ways you can assess for a skill gap. And there are, standard templates and forms and those type of documents, which probably have been developed by experts, which tend to exhaust if one wants to assess skill gaps in a specific, competency or a specific area of need. What is your view about that? Do we use templates, standard templates, or do we just design our own? Because that could be actually an area where the problem may arise, that you think you have identified all the skill gaps in that particular area, and yet maybe the form or the tool or the questionnaire itself that you have designed is not adequately addressing the areas of need. What is your view on that?
I think templates, whenever it is coming, if those are predefined templates having set of questions already there, obviously there are experts who have made it. But it is true as well that your industry, whether they are falling within that category or falling with that specific job role, or that person having specific that area of expertise where you are looking to assess him, the way of having the assessment, the kind of questions can be in a different way. So for an example, one of my guy was sitting in Ethiopia, and I was trying to assess him regarding how he actually interact with the customers. So I could not ask questions relevant on the system. So I have just asked to record himself. So within the same tool, I have opened a window that he could record himself and submit me. So I have asked all my people to do the same way, though there was no such template. So it is my own thought that why not I should ask all my people that once they go to the customers, how they pitch, and I should see them, that how they behave, how they talk to the customers when how they start. They cannot write these kind of things. So some of the things you need to think of it in that way, that when you are doing the assessment and you are related to which job profile or which kind of questions, what different type of questions the system is supporting, so that you can utilize those and capture those data, because it helps. So for an example, I took 3 people and have captured those information, that how they pitch when they are meeting with the customers. And I am having those videos. Now, after the training, when the same assessment been happened, I was able to compare that after training, how he was talking, and before the training, how he was talking. So it's all about, I would say, how you are planning your assessment to be happened, what sort of questions, what type of questions are there. You can design your own. The tools should be supporting these different ways, making your assessment more engaging for your users, right? And these tools now helping to the mobile users, wherever they are, they can quickly do it from their smartphones, and they can quickly upload it, that okay, how they are how they can submit the question. So they can submit from anywhere. I think that should be more flexible to them. Yes, Professor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Pranil. So when we get to the assessment, probably we design the tools, and also we use the interactive approach so that it is a kind of a combined method. And would it be okay if we are to share the tools with you so that you can help us validate?
Sure, Professor. Sure.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Prof. So now we'll move to Albert.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for the presentation. They've been very engaging, and indeed, there's need to really figure out how best to identify our employees' skill gaps. Now, I'm a counseling psychologist by profession, and I also do consultancy on emotional, digital, and psychological well-being. Mine is more of a comment. I feel there's need to have there's need to have wellness programs in more organizations, because remember, right now, employees are individuals, and individuals are undergoing numerous issues affecting their wellness, both out of and within the organization. Number 2, I think there's also need for some form of psychological assessment, and here focusing more on your attitudes, thoughts, and perceptions, because I feel sometimes, as was mentioned earlier on, an individual may undergo a specific training, but then you realize that they're still not performing. So I feel such evaluations will be helpful in knowing exactly what the problem is and exactly what kind of intervention should be given. Thank you very much.
So Albert, from which organization and which country you are?
Internet Society of Kenya. I had the communication and PR.
Perfect. Thanks, Albert, for this question. Good question. So Albert, I think assessment is not about just finding the gaps in the skills. When you're running this kind of wellness programs, I think it is most important to identify as well that the reason of the employees within the organization staying is actually being motivated by different factors. Whether those factors being meeting her need or not. So there are one reasons as well. And those should be addressed while asking, when you're setting up the assessment, it should be asked in a different way to your employees, those motivational factors. If those motivational factors being organized within the organization or not. Could be a job satisfaction, could be a salary related, could be the supervisor related, could be health related. There are several things that sometimes the users or the staff being seen underperformance because they have other overload. And we have seen 70% of the people who are more with the personal overload problems, personal problems they have been overloaded with. So these should be identified, because when you are counseling to them, and there should be a place where you should having a counseling with them, because once you identify the major areas, you would be able to sit with him and do some counseling with him. So that is an important thing as well, where you should be conducting the assessment with respect to identifying that what is actually making him motivated, and you will automatically receive that, okay, there are certain things that is actually demotivating him, and there's only very simple way that you do not need him for taking him to any kind of assessment or skill gap. You need to bring him and need to have a more chat by the, if you are an HR or you are more from the that side, you need to talk more related to it, and it's a more counseling with that employee. So this is how we are approaching, right, Albert? Hope I answered your question.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Albert and Promel. Now we want to give perhaps the last opportunity to ask the question. We want to now give it to Esther Ogoro. Esther, are you ready? Okay, so if Esther is not ready, do we have one last person before we close it?
I think there's a
Okay,
context for the 8th slide. Can you move on to the 8th slide? Someone wanted to see the 8th slide. Last 8-pointer slide. Esther Ogoro. And I think there's a question came as well in the meanwhile, what we are showing in the 8th slide. Yes, I think there's a question came as well that the people are in the rural area as well, and the internet is one of the biggest challenge. So how it should be resolved using this kind of technology? Obviously, I think nowadays there are LMS tools available. Even mElimu LMS is also being used as a offline purely, where it requires once sync, and then everyone is equipped with smartphone, and there is no additional data required to do offline. So data can be synced, either it is related to the any kind of learning courses, those data can be synced and they can perform. So these are, for me, these are just the excuses, because I have seen these kind of offline learning and training happening, and we have conducted with the Young African Leadership Initiative and going to the rural areas, as well as there are various non-profit organizations where we have gone to rural areas in providing different kind of trainings. And I have told and shown them that how offline works. When people say that, okay, I don't have internet, for me, it's just the excuse. Actually, when organizations say that, okay, we have very less internet, my staff is having no data, again, this is again excuses. There are mobile apps that works offline. There are LMS that works offline. All the activities, all the trainings can be happen offline. The participation can be happen offline. Obviously, it's not necessary that all the training, when it is happening, it should be live training only. There are various courses, programs are running that is happening offline as well, and the assessments can be submitted offline, and whenever he or she is having connected with the internet, automatically it gets synced. So I think offline nowadays everything is possible. So I think people have shared their email IDs. Obviously, you will be receiving the PPT presentation. You will be receiving the recorded session, as well as you will be receiving the participation certificate as well. And we look forward from you as well on askus@melimu.com. the next topics what you wanted, and we'll bring our other speakers in the further webinars from different part of the world for all of you. Thanks all of you for joining this webinar. Really appreciate all of you. Have a nice day. Bye bye all of you.
Thank you.